She called her interviewer an arrogant snab. Then she found out he was the millionaire CEO. Hello, viewer. Thanks for joining us. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments, along with the city you're watching from. Now let's continue with the story. Phoenix Rivera adjusted her blazer one final time, reviewing her strategic presentation notes in the marble lobby of Sterling Digital Innovations. 3 months of unemployment had taught her the value of confidence over desperation. She'd researched this company thoroughly. Their culture initiatives lagged behind their innovative technology, creating the perfect opportunity for someone with her non-profit background. A man in designer jeans and an expensive hoodie occupied the chair beside her, his phone pressed to his ear with obvious frustration. Phoenix noted his casual attire with mild surprise. Bold choice for an interview. Actually, that's exactly what I would do if I was already confident about getting the job, Phoenix thought, admiring his strategy. The man's voice carried across the pristine lobby. No, I specifically said the candidate interviews start at 2 p.m., not 1:30. These people are here for jobs, not to sit around waiting for us to get organized. Phoenix smiled slightly. At least someone here cared about respecting candidates' time. She shifted her portfolio to access her phone when the overstuffed bag tipped sideways, sending her carefully organized papers cascading across the polished floor. Phoenix immediately knelt to gather the scattered documents, her movements efficient and unbothered. She'd prepared multiple copies of everything for exactly this type of situation. The man didn't pause his conversation or offer assistance, continuing his discussion about interview schedules while Phoenix collected her materials. Phoenix stood gracefully, portfolio reorganized. A simple, "let me help you," wouldn't hurt anyone. The man covered his phone briefly. Maybe try organizing your materials before important meetings. Phoenix looked up, her expression shifting from mild annoyance to genuine surprise. Seriously, are you interviewing for the same marketing position? Because if this company's candidates include people who can't show basic courtesy to fellow professionals, I'm questioning their hiring standards. The man's eyebrows rose slightly. I'm not interviewing for anything. Then what exactly are you doing here? Waiting to see if any of today's candidates are worth my time. Phoenix felt her confidence surge rather than falter. She'd encountered plenty of arrogant people during her non-profit fundraising days. Well, aren't you just a delightful example of corporate entitlement? Let me guess. You're probably someone's nephew who got hired through connections and now thinks he's qualified to judge everyone else's professionalism. The man's expression shifted to something unreadable, almost intrigued. Interesting assessment. Actually, here's what I think is interesting. You're sitting in designer clothes, acting like you own the place, but you can't extend basic human courtesy to someone you assume is your competition. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. The man studied her with growing attention. And what exactly do you think you know? Phoenix gathered her things with renewed purpose. I know that how people treat others when they think there's nothing to gain reveals who they really are. I also know that I'd rather work somewhere that values decency over whatever this attitude is supposed to represent. The man's phone buzzed again, but he ignored it. You seem very confident about your chances here. I am confident. I have a strategic plan to transform Sterling Digital's workplace culture, and I have the non-profit experience to execute it. What I won't do is compromise my principles to impress people who think rudeness is a power move. The man's slight smile suggested genuine amusement rather than mockery. That's quite a bold statement for someone who just called a stranger an entitled corporate snob. Phoenix met his gaze directly. I called you what your behavior demonstrated. If you don't like the assessment, maybe consider adjusting the behavior. Her phone buzzed with a text from reception about her interview timing. Phoenix checked the message, then looked back at the intriguing stranger. Well, this has been educational, but I have an actual interview to ace, so good luck with whatever it is you're doing here. The man watched her walk toward the reception desk with something that looked remarkably like admiration. Phoenix Rivera, the receptionist confirmed. Phoenix nodded confidently, following the assistant toward the interview room. Behind her, the man answered his still buzzing phone. Atlas Kane, speaking. Yes, the 2 p.m. interview can begin now. Phoenix entered conference room A, expecting to find a typical interview panel. Instead, she discovered 5 professional-looking individuals, including the man from the lobby, now wearing a blazer over his hoodie, sitting at the head of a polished table with a nameplate reading Atlas Kane, founder and CEO. The silence stretched for exactly 3 heartbeats while Phoenix processed this information. Her confident stride never faltered, though her mind rapidly recalculated the entire situation. Mrs. Rivera, Atlas said with professional composure, please have a seat. Phoenix chose the chair directly across from him, maintaining eye contact as she settled her portfolio. Mr. Kane, I owe you an apology. My comments in the lobby were based on incomplete information, and that was unprofessional of me. Atlas made a note on his tablet. Were your observations inaccurate? She considered this carefully. No, but context changes everything. I assumed you were another candidate, not the person conducting my interview. And if I had been another candidate, would that have justified my behavior? Phoenix realized this question was still part of her evaluation. No, it wouldn't have. But it would have made us equals in the situation, and equals should treat each other with mutual respect, regardless of competition. Atlas exchanged glances with his panel members. Interesting perspective on workplace dynamics. Tell us about your approach to organizational culture. Phoenix opened her portfolio, her confidence returning as she entered familiar territory. Organizational culture isn't created by mission statements or company retreats. It's built through daily interactions, consistent leadership behavior, and systems that reward the values you actually want to see. The marketing director, a woman named Sarah, leaned forward. Can you give us a specific example? Phoenix nodded. At my previous nonprofit, we had high volunteer turnover until I implemented peer recognition systems and transparent communication channels. Volunteers didn't leave because they disliked the cause. They left because they felt invisible and unheard. Once we addressed that through structural changes, our retention improved by 60%. Atlas made another note. How do you handle situations where leadership behavior conflicts with stated company values? Phoenix met his gaze directly. I address it professionally, but directly. Values without accountability are just marketing copy. If leaders want employees to embrace company culture, they need to model it consistently, especially in unguarded moments. The HR director looked intrigued, such as lobby interactions with potential candidates. Exactly. Phoenix smiled genuinely. Candidates judge companies by every interaction, from parking lot courtesy to how reception staff treat visitors. Those moments reveal authentic culture more than any corporate presentation. Atlas's expression had shifted from professional interest to something approaching respect. Mrs. Rivera, what would you do differently about Sterling Digital's current culture initiatives? Phoenix pulled out her research folder. Based on your Glassdoor reviews and employee survey data, I'd focus on 3 areas: improving manager training for consistent leadership behavior, creating transparent feedback systems that actually generate responses, and implementing peer recognition programs that celebrate the collaborative values you want to build. Sarah exchanged looks with her colleagues. You've clearly done your homework. I don't believe in winging important opportunities, Phoenix replied. Sterling Digital has incredible technical innovation, but your employee engagement scores suggest a disconnect between leadership intentions and daily experience. That gap represents both a challenge and a tremendous opportunity. Atlas leaned back in his chair. What makes you think you're qualified to address that gap? Phoenix's confidence was now fully evident. Because I've successfully managed diverse stakeholder groups in resource-limited environments where relationship building was essential for survival. Non-profit work teaches you to create buy-in through authentic engagement rather than hierarchical authority. Those skills translate directly to culture transformation. The panel spent another 20 minutes discussing her specific strategies, budget considerations, and implementation timelines. Phoenix answered each question with detailed examples and practical solutions. Finally, Atlas closed his folder. Ms. Rivera, thank you for a memorable interview. We'll be in touch within 2 business days. Phoenix stood, extending her hand professionally to each panel member. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to the opportunity to contribute to Sterling Digital's continued success. As she reached Atlas, their handshake lasted a moment longer than strictly professional. I appreciate your directness, Phoenix said, both in the lobby and during the interview. Atlas's smile suggested genuine warmth. Authenticity is refreshing in this industry. Phoenix left the conference room with her head high, knowing she'd represented herself honestly and completely. Whatever happened next, she'd remained true to her principles while demonstrating her professional capabilities. Behind her, the interview panel immediately began animated discussion about her candidacy. Phoenix's phone rang at exactly 4:47 p.m. the following day. While she was updating her resume for backup opportunities, the caller ID showed Sterling Digital's main number, Ms. Rivera. This is Sarah Collins from Sterling Digital's marketing department. I'm calling to offer you our marketing coordinator position with a special focus on culture initiatives. Phoenix felt her heart rate increase but kept her voice steady. I'm very interested. Can you tell me more about the role specifics? You'll be working directly with our executive team to implement the culture transformation strategies you outlined during your interview. The position includes a 15% salary increase over the posted range, given the expanded responsibilities. Phoenix smiled widely. That sounds perfect. When would you like me to start? Monday morning, if that works for you. We'll email the formal offer letter within an hour, and I'll personally handle your onboarding process. After ending the call, Phoenix allowed herself exactly 30 seconds of celebration, dancing in her apartment, before calling her sister with the news. Monday morning arrived with Phoenix feeling prepared and optimistic. She'd spent the weekend researching Sterling Digital's organizational structure and reviewing her strategic implementation timeline. The office buzzed with Monday morning energy as Sarah guided Phoenix through the open workspace areas. Here's your desk, right in the heart of the marketing team collaboration zone. You'll have easy access to everyone you'll be working with. Phoenix set down her bag, noting the thoughtful placement near both the marketing team and executive offices. Perfect location for culture initiative coordination. Sarah introduced her to teammates throughout the morning. Phoenix quickly identified the informal communication networks and relationship dynamics that would be crucial for successful culture change. Around 11 a.m., Sarah approached with a striking woman in an elegant navy suit. Phoenix, I'd like you to meet Victoria Sterling, our VP of Operations. Victoria, this is Phoenix Rivera, our new marketing coordinator focusing on culture initiatives. Victoria extended a perfectly manicured hand with a warm but assessing smile. Phoenix, wonderful to meet you. I've heard impressive things about your interview from the team. Phoenix shook hands confidently. Thank you, Victoria. I'm excited to contribute to Sterling Digital's growth. Victoria's smile remained pleasant while her eyes evaluated Phoenix carefully. I understand you'll be working closely with our executive team on culture projects. That's quite an opportunity for someone new to corporate environments. Phoenix detected the subtle challenge, but responded with genuine enthusiasm. I'm grateful for the chance to apply my non-profit experience to help Sterling Digital build on its already strong foundation. Atlas appeared beside them, holding a coffee cup and looking more casually professional than during the interview. "Good morning, Phoenix. How's your first day progressing?" "Very well, thank you. Everyone's been incredibly welcoming, and I'm excited to dive into the culture assessment project." Victoria smoothly interjected. "I was just telling Phoenix how unique it is for new team members to have such direct executive access. I'm sure she'll make the most of the opportunity." Atlas nodded thoughtfully. Phoenix's background gives her a fresh perspective on organizational dynamics. We're looking forward to her insights. Phoenix sensed underlying tension between Atlas and Victoria, but focused on professionalism. "I appreciate the confidence you're placing in me. I plan to spend my first week conducting informal interviews with team members across departments to understand current culture strengths and improvement opportunities." Victoria's eyebrows rose slightly. "Interviewing existing employees is quite ambitious for your first week. I hope you'll coordinate with HR to ensure appropriate protocols." "Actually," Phoenix said confidently, "informal conversations over coffee create more honest feedback than formal HR processes. People share real insights when they don't feel like they're being evaluated." Atlas smiled with obvious approval. "Exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need." Victoria maintained her pleasant expression while making a mental note about Phoenix's approach. "Well, I'm sure you'll learn a lot about how things work here." The subtle emphasis on "how things work here" wasn't lost on Phoenix, but she responded with genuine positivity. "I'm always eager to learn from experienced leaders like yourself." Atlas checked his watch. "Phoenix, would you be available for a brief meeting at 2 p.m. to discuss your culture assessment timeline?" "Absolutely. I'll have some preliminary observations ready to share." As Atlas walked away, Victoria lingered beside Phoenix's desk. "Just some friendly advice from one woman to another. Corporate environments can be complex. Taking time to understand existing relationships and dynamics before implementing changes usually works better than rushing into new initiatives." Phoenix appreciated the guidance while recognizing the warning embedded within it. "Thank you for the insight. I definitely plan to approach everything thoughtfully and collaboratively." Victoria smiled more genuinely. "I'm glad we'll be working together. Atlas values fresh perspectives, but he also appreciates team members who understand the importance of balance." After Victoria left, Phoenix organized her workspace while processing the morning's interactions. The office dynamics were already revealing themselves. Atlas's openness to change, Victoria's protective stance, and the team's cautious optimism about culture initiatives. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Atlas moved your 2 p.m. meeting to his office. Top floor, corner suite. Elevator access code is 2847. Phoenix smiled as she saved the information. Day one was exceeding her expectations in every possible way. Phoenix arrived at Atlas's office at exactly 2 p.m., carrying her tablet and a folder of preliminary observations. The corner suite featured floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, with a sitting area separate from his main desk. "Come in, Phoenix." Atlas gestured toward the comfortable chairs by the windows. "I hope your first morning has been informative." Phoenix settled into the chair across from him, noting how the informal seating arrangement encouraged collaboration rather than hierarchy. "Very informative. I've had conversations with 12 team members across 4 departments, and I'm already seeing some interesting patterns." Atlas leaned forward with genuine interest. Such as, Phoenix opened her tablet. "People consistently praise Sterling Digital's innovation and technical leadership. They're genuinely proud to work here. But there's a disconnect between departments that's creating communication silos and limiting the collaborative potential you want to build. Can you be more specific?" Phoenix referenced her notes. Marketing knows about upcoming product launches 2 weeks before sales, which isn't enough time for strategic campaign development. Engineering develops features without input from customer service who interact with user requests daily. Operations makes efficiency changes without consulting the teams who implement them. Atlas made notes as she spoke. These are exactly the kinds of systemic issues expensive consultants have failed to identify clearly. What do you recommend? Phoenix's confidence was evident as she shifted into strategic mode. Cross-departmental collaboration sessions, but not traditional meetings. I'm thinking monthly lunch and learn sessions where departments present their current challenges to other teams and brainstorm solutions together. That's actually brilliant. Atlas's approval was unmistakable. It builds relationships while solving practical problems. Phoenix nodded enthusiastically. Plus, it creates informal communication networks that continue beyond the formal sessions. People collaborate more easily with colleagues they know personally. Atlas studied her carefully. You seem very comfortable challenging existing systems for someone on their first day. Phoenix met his gaze directly. Respectfully challenging systems is different from disrespecting people. I spent 3 years watching brilliant non-profit leaders struggle with preventable problems because no one felt comfortable suggesting improvements. I learned that good intentions without effective execution waste everyone's energy. Atlas smiled with something approaching admiration. That's a mature perspective for someone who... How old are you? 26. Phoenix replied without hesitation. And yes, I know I'm young for strategic consulting responsibilities. But age doesn't determine insight quality. Experience and observation skills do. Atlas's expression shifted to genuine respect. You're absolutely right. I started this company at 24, and I faced plenty of skepticism about my age versus my capabilities. Phoenix felt the conversation's tone becoming more personal. What helped you overcome that skepticism? Delivering results that spoke louder than doubts, Atlas said simply, and surrounding myself with people who valued competence over conventional expectations. That sounds like excellent leadership philosophy, Phoenix observed, creating environments where talent can thrive, regardless of traditional limitations. Atlas leaned back thoughtfully. Phoenix, I have to ask, weren't you nervous about confronting me in the lobby when you thought I was just another candidate? Phoenix laughed genuinely. Actually, no. I've learned that people who act dismissive toward those they perceive as equals usually reveal their character pretty quickly. I'd rather know up front if someone's going to be difficult to work with. And what's your assessment now that you know I was testing your principles rather than demonstrating poor character? Phoenix considered this seriously. I think you're a leader who values authenticity enough to create unusual evaluation methods. That suggests you're genuinely committed to building the collaborative culture you talk about. Atlas's smile was warm and genuine. I appreciate your directness, Phoenix, both then and now. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft knock on the office door. Victoria appeared with a folder in hand. Sorry to interrupt, Victoria said pleasantly. I wanted to drop off the quarterly budget reviews before the 3 p.m. finance meeting. Atlas accepted the folder while maintaining the collaborative atmosphere. Victoria, perfect timing. Phoenix was sharing some insightful observations about interdepartmental communication improvements. Victoria's smile remained professional. How wonderful. I'd love to hear about your preliminary findings sometime, Phoenix. Phoenix sensed an opportunity to build alliance rather than competition. I'd welcome your operational perspective on feasibility and implementation logistics. Collaboration works best when everyone's expertise contributes to the strategy. Victoria's expression shifted to genuine appreciation. That's very thoughtful. Most consultants prefer to work independently and present finished recommendations. I'm not most consultants, Phoenix replied confidently. I'm a team member who happens to focus on culture dynamics. Atlas observed the interaction with obvious satisfaction. Phoenix, why don't you prepare a comprehensive presentation for next week's leadership team meeting? Include Victoria's operational insights in your implementation timeline. Phoenix nodded eagerly. I'll coordinate with Victoria to ensure the recommendations are practically sound and resource appropriate. As Victoria left with plans to schedule follow-up discussions, Atlas turned back to Phoenix with something approaching amazement. You've been here 6 hours, and you're already building collaborative relationships with potential skeptics. That's impressive strategic thinking. Phoenix smiled confidently. Culture change requires buy-in from influencers at every level. Victoria's operational expertise could make or break any initiative I propose, so earning her partnership isn't just smart, it's essential. Atlas shook his head with genuine admiration. I think Sterling Digital is about to experience some very positive changes. As Phoenix gathered her materials to leave, she felt a sense of professional excitement she hadn't experienced since her non-profit days. This was exactly the kind of meaningful work that energized her. Tell me something, Atlas said as she reached the door. Do you always approach new challenges with this level of confidence? Phoenix paused thoughtfully. Only when I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Phoenix knocked on Atlas's office door at exactly 2 p.m. Friday afternoon, carrying her tablet loaded with a week's worth of employee insights and strategic analysis that had consumed her thoughts during every spare moment. Her confidence had grown exponentially with each conversation, revealing organizational patterns that validated her initial assessment while uncovering layers of potential she hadn't anticipated. Come in, Phoenix. Atlas gestured toward their now familiar seating area by the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the bustling city below. I'm genuinely eager to hear what you've discovered during your first week of what I'm calling culture archaeology. Phoenix settled into her preferred chair with a slight smile, her enthusiasm evident before she even opened her tablet. Culture archaeology. I absolutely love that description. It really does feel like uncovering layers of organizational DNA that have built up over time, each telling a story about how this company has evolved. Atlas leaned forward with genuine anticipation, his coffee growing cold as he focused entirely on her insights. What have you excavated so far from the Sterling Digital archives? Phoenix opened her tablet, but her enthusiasm was immediately evident before she accessed her detailed notes. Atlas, your employees genuinely love working here. Not the polite, professional love that people express in formal surveys, but authentic pride in being part of Sterling Digital's mission and success story. The technical innovation, the growth opportunities, the sense that they're building something meaningful. They're genuinely proud to be part of this journey. That's encouraging to hear directly from them rather than filtered through HR reports, Atlas said, though his expression suggested he sensed more complex findings ahead. But I suspect you've discovered some challenges alongside the positives. Here's what's absolutely fascinating, Phoenix continued, her voice gaining energy as she shifted into full strategic analysis mode. The culture challenges aren't stemming from lack of engagement, poor leadership, or insufficient resources. They're actually coming from success, growing faster than communication infrastructure could adapt to support it. Atlas tilted his head thoughtfully, his business mind immediately engaging with her framework. Explain that assessment further. How does success create culture challenges? Phoenix pulled up her carefully organized analysis charts, each representing hours of conversation and observation. When Sterling Digital was 50 employees, informal communication worked perfectly for everything. Everyone knew everyone. Information flowed naturally through casual conversations, and collaboration happened organically because people encountered each other constantly throughout their workday. She swiped to her next screen showing organizational growth patterns, but at 230 employees across multiple departments and office floors, those informal networks have developed gaps that create unintentional silos. It's not that people don't want to collaborate. They literally don't know what other departments are working on or how their projects might connect. Atlas was making detailed notes as she spoke, his analytical mind processing the implications. So the solution isn't changing people or their attitudes. It's creating better information bridges between departments that want to work together. Exactly, Phoenix said, her excitement evident as she realized he understood her analysis completely. You have brilliant collaborative people who genuinely want to work together effectively. They just need structured opportunities to share insights and coordinate efforts across departmental boundaries that didn't exist when the company was smaller. Atlas looked up from his notes with growing interest. What kind of structured opportunities would address these communication gaps? Phoenix switched to her detailed implementation timeline, each element carefully researched and strategically planned. I'm proposing monthly cross-pollination sessions, and yes, I realize that name needs refinement, where each department presents their current challenges to other teams and collaboratively brainstorms solutions that leverage everyone's expertise. Atlas's eyebrows rose with genuine interest and something approaching excitement. Cross-pollination, like how different plants create stronger, more resilient hybrids when they share genetic material and adapt to different environments. Phoenix grinned with delight at his immediate understanding. Exactly. But we could certainly call them innovation integration sessions or collaborative challenge forums if cross-pollination sounds too botanical for a technology company. Atlas laughed genuinely, the first truly relaxed moment she'd observed since meeting him. Actually, cross-pollination perfectly captures what we're trying to achieve. How would these sessions work practically on a day-to-day basis? Phoenix's confidence was fully evident as she detailed her carefully researched strategy. Each session focuses on one department's real, immediate challenge that they're actively trying to solve. Engineering might present a user interface dilemma they're struggling with, and customer service shares actual user feedback and frustration patterns they've collected over months of support interactions. She clicked to her next slide showing session structure. Marketing contributes campaign insights about how customers respond to similar features, and sales adds direct client perspective from recent conversations. Together, they develop solutions that none of them could create independently, while building relationships that continue beyond the formal session. That's genuinely brilliant, Atlas said with obvious admiration and something deeper that Phoenix was beginning to recognize. It creates organic collaboration while solving actual business problems that each department cares about solving. Phoenix nodded enthusiastically, her passion for the work evident in every word. Plus, once people collaborate successfully on one meaningful project, they naturally continue those relationships informally. We're not just solving immediate challenges, we're building lasting communication networks that will adapt and grow as the company continues expanding. Atlas studied her carefully, his expression shifting from professional interest to something more personal. Phoenix, you've been here 5 days and you've identified systemic issues that multi-million-dollar consulting firms have failed to recognize after months of analysis. How did you develop this organizational perspective so quickly? Phoenix's expression grew more thoughtful as she considered how much vulnerability to share. Honestly, non-profit work teaches you to see resource inefficiencies immediately, because waste literally means programs fail and people who need help don't receive it. When I observe workplace dynamics, I automatically notice where human energy and talent are being underutilized. Atlas leaned back with growing respect and something that looked remarkably like admiration. That's a perspective I wish I'd had access to years ago when we were establishing our organizational systems. Phoenix sensed the conversation shifting toward more personal territory and felt drawn to learn more about his leadership journey. What made you realize Sterling Digital needed culture improvements rather than just continued technical innovation? Atlas's expression became noticeably more vulnerable, his usual CEO composure softening. About 6 months ago, I was reviewing quarterly exit interview data and noticed a troubling pattern. People weren't leaving for better compensation packages or more prestigious opportunities. They were leaving because they felt disconnected from our larger mission, despite genuinely loving their individual work and colleagues. That must have been incredibly disappointing to discover, Phoenix said with genuine empathy, feeling the weight of his trust in sharing that realization. It was honestly heartbreaking, Atlas admitted, his voice growing quieter. I'd built this company specifically to create meaningful work for talented people, and somehow I'd lost sight of the human connections that actually make work feel meaningful rather than just professionally satisfying. Phoenix felt the significance of his vulnerability in sharing that struggle. That awareness makes you an exceptional leader rather than a typical one. Most executives blame employee turnover on market conditions, competitive offers, or compensation issues rather than examining their own organizational impact on human fulfillment. Atlas met her eyes with something approaching gratitude. I appreciate you saying that, but I know I have a tremendous amount to learn about creating the collaborative culture I originally envisioned when I started this company. The conversation was interrupted by Victoria's voice from the doorway, her tone pleasant but clearly observing their interaction. Atlas, sorry to interrupt your meeting, but the quarterly board presentation is in 20 minutes and you specifically asked me to provide a reminder. Atlas checked his watch with genuine surprise. Already, time completely disappeared while we were discussing these initiatives. Phoenix, thank you for such comprehensive and insightful analysis. I'd like you to develop a formal presentation for next week's leadership meeting with specific implementation timelines, resource requirements, and measurable success metrics. Phoenix gathered her materials with visible excitement and professional pride. I'll coordinate directly with department heads to ensure the recommendations address their actual operational needs rather than theoretical improvements that sound good but don't translate to practical implementation. As Phoenix headed toward the door, Victoria stepped aside to let her pass while clearly evaluating their dynamic. Phoenix, could I speak with you briefly when you have a moment this afternoon? Of course, Phoenix replied eagerly. I was actually hoping to get your operational perspective on realistic implementation timelines and potential organizational challenges I might not have anticipated. Perfect, Victoria said with what seemed like genuine warmth mixed with professional assessment. Let's schedule lunch next week to discuss your initiatives in comprehensive detail and explore how they align with our existing operational frameworks. After Phoenix left, Atlas turned to Victoria with obvious professional satisfaction. She's going to fundamentally transform how we work together as an organization. Her insights are remarkable. Victoria nodded thoughtfully while observing Atlas's enthusiasm. She's certainly thorough in her analytical approach and strategic thinking. Atlas gathered his presentation materials, missing the subtle complexity in Victoria's tone as he focused on business priorities. I haven't encountered this level of sophisticated organizational insight from someone so early in their career. Her perspective is genuinely revolutionary. Victoria's smile remained professionally appropriate as they walked toward the boardroom together. She's definitely making quite an impression on everyone she encounters. Phoenix spent Monday morning conducting intensive meetings with department heads across Sterling Digital, gathering detailed input that would strengthen her comprehensive culture initiative presentation. Each conversation revealed new dimensions of collaboration potential that energized her strategic thinking and confirmed her initial analysis about organizational communication gaps. Her systematic approach involved structured interviews with engineering, marketing, sales, customer service, finance, operations, and human resources leadership. She asked specific questions about current challenges, desired improvements, resource constraints, and success metrics that would demonstrate meaningful progress. By Tuesday afternoon, she developed a presentation that balanced innovative solutions with practical implementation steps, realistic timelines, and measurable outcomes. Her confidence grew as she refined each recommendation based on actual employee feedback, rather than theoretical frameworks that sounded impressive but lacked operational foundation. She spent Tuesday evening reviewing organizational psychology research and best practices from other technology companies that had successfully implemented similar culture transformation initiatives. Her non-profit background had taught her the importance of evidence-based approaches rather than intuitive assumptions about what might work. Wednesday's leadership meeting arrived with Phoenix feeling thoroughly prepared and genuinely excited to share her comprehensive findings. The conference room filled with Sterling Digital's complete executive team, including Atlas, Victoria, and all department directors Phoenix had interviewed throughout the previous weeks. Atlas called the meeting to order with visible anticipation and professional pride. Today, Phoenix Rivera will present her comprehensive assessment of Sterling Digital's culture enhancement opportunities and strategic implementation recommendations. Phoenix, the floor is entirely yours. Phoenix stood with her presentation remote, her confidence evident as she addressed the room with the poise of someone who had invested significant time understanding her audience's specific needs and concerns. Thank you for this opportunity to share what I've learned about Sterling Digital's incredible potential for collaborative innovation and sustainable growth. She clicked to her first slide, which displayed current employee satisfaction scores alongside specific anonymized feedback quotes that highlighted both strengths and improvement opportunities. Your team members consistently describe Sterling Digital as an innovative, growth-oriented company where they're genuinely proud to work and contribute to meaningful technological advancement. That foundation of authentic engagement gives us tremendous opportunity to build enhanced collaboration systems. The marketing director, Sarah, raised her hand with genuine interest. What specific collaboration challenges did you identify during your departmental interviews? Phoenix advanced to her detailed analysis charts, each representing hours of conversation and careful data compilation. I discovered that information silos aren't caused by territorial behavior, poor leadership, or lack of collaborative spirit. They're caused by rapid organizational growth, outpacing communication infrastructure development. Departments genuinely want to collaborate more effectively, but they lack structured opportunities for regular insight sharing and coordinated problem solving. Victoria leaned forward with professional interest and obvious evaluation of Phoenix's analytical capabilities. Can you quantify the business impact of these communication gaps with specific examples? Phoenix smiled confidently, having anticipated this crucial question and prepared comprehensive data to support her recommendations. Absolutely. Based on my interviews, project timeline analysis and workflow observation, communication delays are currently adding an average of 3 weeks to product launch cycles, reducing marketing campaign effectiveness by approximately 15% and creating customer service escalations that could be prevented through better interdepartmental coordination and information sharing. The room grew notably attentive as Phoenix continued with specific, detailed examples that demonstrated her thorough understanding of organizational dynamics. Engineering spent 2 months developing a feature enhancement that customer service could have told them users consistently request modifications for based on support ticket patterns and user feedback they collect daily. Marketing launched a successful campaign emphasizing processing speed, while sales was simultaneously hearing client requests for customization options that would require different messaging strategies. She clicked to her next slide, showing workflow analysis. These aren't failures or competence issues. They're symptoms of talented people working with incomplete information because communication systems haven't evolved to match organizational complexity. Atlas nodded with obvious approval and growing excitement about her strategic thinking. What specific solutions do you recommend to address these systemic challenges? Phoenix clicked to her detailed implementation timeline, each phase carefully planned with realistic expectations and measurable outcomes. I propose cross-pollination sessions, monthly collaborative problem-solving meetings where departments present real challenges and brainstorm solutions together using everyone's expertise and perspective. Each session focuses on one department's actual project, creating immediate value while building lasting collaboration networks. The engineering director looked appropriately skeptical about adding more meetings to busy schedules. How is this different from our existing cross-departmental meetings and status update sessions? Phoenix had thoroughly prepared for this predictable objection. Current meetings focus primarily on information sharing and status updates. Here's what we're working on: communication. Cross-pollination sessions focus on collaborative problem-solving with immediate implementation goals and accountability measures. Instead of informational updates, it becomes, here's our specific challenge, and we need your expertise and perspective to solve it more effectively. She advanced to her next slide, showing detailed session structures and time management protocols. Each 90-minute session includes problem presentation, collaborative brainstorming using structured frameworks, solution development with specific action items, and immediate next steps with assigned accountability and follow-up timelines. Participants leave with concrete actions and clear expectations rather than just shared information. Victoria studied the budget projections and resource requirements displayed on screen. This appears potentially resource-intensive in terms of time allocation. How do you justify the investment when departments are already managing competing priorities? Phoenix's response was confident and thoroughly data-driven. Based on my workflow analysis, communication delays currently cost Sterling Digital approximately 43 hours of duplicated effort per month across all departments. Cross-pollination sessions would require 12 hours monthly, but eliminate most duplication while accelerating project timelines through improved coordination. She clicked to her detailed ROI calculations and projected outcomes. Conservative projections suggest 25% improvement in project efficiency, 15% reduction in revision cycles due to better initial coordination, and significant improvement in employee satisfaction scores related to collaboration and communication. The time investment pays for itself within 60 days while building sustainable improvement systems. Atlas was taking detailed notes throughout her presentation. Phoenix, this represents exactly the kind of strategic thinking and practical implementation planning we need. What's your recommended timeline for rolling out these initiatives? Phoenix advanced to her carefully planned, phased rollout strategy. I recommend starting with a pilot program involving 3 departments over 2 months, gathering detailed feedback and refining the process based on actual results, then expanding company-wide based on proven outcomes and lessons learned. This approach minimizes organizational risk while demonstrating measurable value before full implementation. Sarah raised another practical question. How do you ensure consistent participation when people have competing deadlines and immediate project pressures? Phoenix nodded enthusiastically, having considered this implementation challenge carefully. That's where session design becomes absolutely crucial. Each session addresses real, immediate challenges that participants actually need help solving for their current work. When people see direct benefit to their ongoing projects, participation becomes motivated rather than obligatory. The customer service director contributed his perspective. What happens if departments share information that reveals competitive sensitivities or confidential project details? Phoenix had researched this concern thoroughly. Excellent question. Sessions follow established confidentiality protocols, and information sharing focuses on process challenges and coordination opportunities rather than specific product details or proprietary information. We're sharing methodologies and insights, not competitive secrets. Victoria's expression had shifted from professional skepticism to genuinely impressed recognition of Phoenix's comprehensive preparation. Phoenix, you've clearly invested significant time thinking through both the strategic vision and practical implementation details. What specific support do you need to move forward with pilot testing? Phoenix felt her excitement building as she recognized the leadership team's growing enthusiasm. I need approval to coordinate with department heads for pilot session scheduling, access to project management tools for tracking outcomes and measuring success, and permission to survey participants for feedback optimization and continuous improvement. Atlas looked around the room at his complete leadership team. Questions or concerns about moving forward with Phoenix's pilot program recommendations? The room remained silent, except for several heads nodding in approval and expressions of genuine interest in participating. Atlas smiled with obvious satisfaction and professional pride. Phoenix, consider this initiative officially approved. Please coordinate with Victoria on resource allocation and detailed timeline development. Phoenix's confidence was radiant as she concluded her presentation. Thank you for trusting me with this opportunity to contribute to Sterling Digital's continued success. I'm genuinely excited to help our organization achieve even greater collaborative innovation and employee satisfaction. As the meeting dispersed, colleagues approached Phoenix with enthusiastic comments about her presentation quality and strategic thinking. Victoria lingered as others left the room, clearly wanting to speak privately. Phoenix, Victoria said with genuine warmth and obvious respect, that was an exceptional presentation. You've clearly invested considerable time researching both strategic vision and practical implementation challenges. Phoenix beamed with appreciation and professional gratitude. Thank you, Victoria. Your operational expertise will be crucial for successful rollout, and I'm hoping you'll provide ongoing guidance throughout the implementation process. Victoria's smile became more personal and mentoring. I'd be delighted to mentor you through the implementation challenges. Actually, would you be available for lunch tomorrow to discuss detailed coordination strategies and potential obstacles? Phoenix nodded eagerly. Absolutely. I'd love to learn from your experience with company-wide initiative management and organizational change implementation. As they gathered their materials, Atlas approached with obvious pride and something deeper that Phoenix was beginning to recognize. Phoenix, congratulations on a presentation that was both visionary and practically grounded. You've given us a clear, actionable path forward for meaningful culture enhancement. Phoenix felt a surge of professional satisfaction mixed with growing awareness of her attraction to Atlas. Thank you, Atlas. I can't wait to see what we accomplish together through these collaborative initiatives. Thursday evening found Phoenix and Atlas still in his office at 8:45 p.m., laptops open and coffee cups scattered across the polished conference table where they'd spread out detailed implementation materials for the cross-pollination pilot program. The building had grown quiet around them, with only occasional sounds from the cleaning crew making their rounds through distant hallways and the soft hum of the building's evening lighting system. Atlas rubbed his eyes tiredly, but smiled at Phoenix's continued energy and enthusiasm. I have to ask, are you always this genuinely enthusiastic about organizational development initiatives, Or is this level of passion specific to Sterling Digital and our particular challenges? Phoenix looked up from her detailed scheduling spreadsheet, her hair slightly disheveled from running her fingers through it while thinking through complex logistics. Actually, this level of enthusiasm is specific to projects where I can see real potential for meaningful impact on people's daily work experience. When I worked at the nonprofit, I felt this same energy about initiatives that could genuinely improve how people collaborated and felt connected to their mission. Atlas leaned back in his chair, studying her with growing appreciation and something deeper he was trying to understand. What ultimately made you decide to leave nonprofit work for corporate consulting and culture development? Phoenix saved her document carefully before answering, her expression becoming more thoughtful and personal than their usual professional discussions. Honestly, federal funding cuts eliminated my position, but I'd been frustrated for months by how slowly we could implement meaningful changes due to bureaucratic restrictions and approval processes. I loved the mission deeply, but I wanted more autonomy to create systemic improvements that could be tested and refined quickly. That's genuinely ironic, Atlas said with a slight laugh and obvious recognition. I started Sterling Digital because I was increasingly frustrated by corporate bureaucracy, limiting innovation potential, and slowing decision-making processes. I wanted to create a company where good ideas could be implemented quickly and adapted based on real results. Phoenix met his eyes with genuine curiosity about his leadership journey. Have you succeeded in creating that kind of responsive, innovative environment? Atlas considered this question carefully, his expression becoming more vulnerable than she'd previously observed. Mostly, yes, we can pivot quickly on technical decisions and product development based on market feedback. But I'm realizing that building collaborative culture requires completely different skills than I developed for building innovative technology and managing business growth. Phoenix nodded with understanding born from her own professional experience. Culture change is inherently more complex because it involves changing human behavior patterns and communication habits rather than just implementing new systems or technologies. People have to choose to collaborate differently, and choice requires genuine motivation beyond mandates or policy changes. Atlas's expression grew more personal and reflective. What motivates you personally to choose this type of challenging, complex work when you could pursue easier consulting opportunities? Phoenix paused her typing completely, considering how much personal vulnerability to share with someone who was becoming more than just her professional supervisor. I've seen what happens when talented, well-intentioned people feel isolated in their work. They become frustrated, disengaged, and eventually leave for environments where they feel more connected to meaningful collaboration. I want to help create workplaces where people's natural desire to contribute and collaborate can flourish instead of being stifled by poor communication systems. Atlas felt the depth of her conviction and personal mission. That's exactly what I hoped to build when I started Sterling Digital, but I've been so focused on business metrics and technical innovation that I gradually lost sight of the human elements that actually make work feel meaningful rather than just professionally successful. Phoenix's voice grew softer with genuine empathy for his leadership challenges. The fact that you recognized that disconnect and took deliberate action to address it demonstrates incredible leadership maturity. Most executives would blame external factors like market competition or employee expectations, rather than examining their own organizational impact on employee experience. Atlas met her gaze with something approaching vulnerability. Can I tell you something I haven't shared with anyone else on the leadership team or my business advisors? Phoenix sensed their conversation shifting into deeply personal territory and felt honored by his trust. Of course. I'm grateful you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts with me. Atlas's voice grew quiet and reflective. When I read those exit interviews 6 months ago, I realized I'd become exactly the kind of CEO I used to criticize when I was an employee. Someone focused on growth metrics and operational efficiency while losing touch with what actually matters to the people doing the daily work that makes success possible. Phoenix felt the weight of his trust in sharing that painful realization. That level of self-awareness and willingness to change makes you exceptional rather than typical. Most leaders never reach that level of honest self-reflection, and even fewer take concrete action to realign their leadership with their original values. Atlas looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the city lights beginning to twinkle in the growing darkness. I started this company because I wanted to prove that business success and human fulfillment weren't mutually exclusive goals. Somewhere along the way, I got so focused on proving the business success part that I nearly forgot about the human fulfillment part of the equation. Phoenix's heart responded to his honesty with unexpected warmth and deeper attraction. The beautiful thing is that you didn't permanently forget. You just temporarily lost focus under the pressure of growth and competition. And now you're taking deliberate action to realign your leadership with your original vision and values. Atlas turned back to her with something that looked remarkably like gratitude mixed with growing personal interest. Having you here, seeing our organization through your fresh perspective, has reminded me why I started Sterling Digital in the first place and what kind of leader I want to be. Phoenix felt a flutter of something significantly beyond professional respect. Working with you has brought out my best strategic thinking and creative problem solving. This level of trust and autonomy allows me to approach challenges creatively rather than defensively, which makes the work genuinely fulfilling. Atlas's expression grew more personal and intimate. Phoenix, I need to tell you something about how much I appreciate. Phoenix felt her pulse quicken as she sensed the conversation shifting toward territory they'd been carefully avoiding, despite growing attraction. Their moment was interrupted by Victoria, appearing in the doorway with a pleased but observant expression. Phoenix, congratulations on the pilot session success! I've been hearing enthusiastic feedback from multiple departments about your innovative approach. Phoenix felt simultaneously grateful for Victoria's interruption and disappointed by the lost moment with Atlas. Thank you, Victoria. The collaborative problem-solving approach is generating even better results than my most optimistic projections suggested. Victoria entered the office fully, clearly proud of Phoenix's success while observing the intimate atmosphere. I told you this young woman was going to accomplish remarkable things, she said to Atlas with professional warmth. Atlas nodded with obvious respect for Phoenix's capabilities. Her strategic thinking and implementation skills continued to exceed every expectation we had. Phoenix gathered her materials, suddenly intensely aware that her feelings for Atlas were growing beyond what Victoria's wise counsel had warned her to maintain for professional effectiveness. Victoria, could I speak with you privately about expansion timeline considerations and potential challenges? Phoenix asked, recognizing she needed additional guidance about managing her increasingly complex emotions. Of course, Victoria replied warmly. Let's schedule time tomorrow morning to discuss sustainable growth strategies for the program and long-term success planning. As Phoenix left Atlas's office, she felt a powerful mixture of professional triumph and personal confusion about the direction of her deepening feelings. The success of her culture initiatives was undeniable and professionally satisfying, but her attraction to Atlas was becoming equally undeniable and potentially problematic for everything she'd worked so hard to achieve. Friday afternoon, Phoenix received a thoughtfully worded text from Victoria. Free for lunch today? There's a lovely bistro near the office where we can discuss your culture initiative progress and explore some strategic considerations in a more relaxed environment. Phoenix replied immediately with genuine enthusiasm. Absolutely. Looking forward to learning from your experience and getting your insights on implementation challenges. They met at Cafe Meridian, a sophisticated restaurant with comfortable booths that encouraged confidential conversations and provided privacy for professional mentoring discussions. Victoria had already secured a quiet corner table when Phoenix arrived punctually. Victoria stood to greet her with genuine warmth and professional respect. "Phoenix, thank you for making time in your increasingly busy schedule. I've been looking forward to this conversation all week, especially after your impressive presentation results." Phoenix settled into the comfortable booth, noting Victoria's relaxed demeanor compared to their more formal office interactions. "This setting is perfect. I've been hoping to get your perspective on realistic implementation timelines and potential organizational challenges I might not have anticipated from my limited corporate experience." Victoria smiled as she opened her menu with deliberate consideration. "I genuinely appreciate your collaborative approach to this work. Many external consultants prefer to work independently and present finished recommendations without seeking input from existing leadership team members who understand organizational dynamics." Phoenix's response was immediate and sincere. "That approach never made sense to me personally. Why wouldn't I want guidance and insights from someone with your operational expertise and institutional knowledge of Sterling Digital's culture and history?" Victoria's expression shifted to something more personal and mentoring. "You know, Phoenix, I have to admit I was initially cautious about your rapid integration into executive-level strategic projects and your immediate access to senior leadership decision-making processes." Phoenix leaned forward with genuine curiosity rather than defensiveness, recognizing an opportunity to learn from Victoria's experience. "What specific concerns did you have? I'd like to understand so I can address them appropriately." Victoria chose her words thoughtfully and professionally. "In my experience working in corporate environments, new team members who gain immediate access to senior leadership often struggle with the complexities of organizational relationship dynamics and may inadvertently create tensions or make commitments that aren't operationally feasible given existing constraints." Phoenix nodded with understanding and appreciation for Victoria's directness. "Those are completely legitimate concerns based on your experience. How do you assess my approach after observing my work and interactions over these past few weeks?" Victoria's smile became noticeably more genuine and warm. "Honestly, you've exceeded my expectations in every measurable way. Your presentation was strategically brilliant, but also practically grounded in operational reality, and you've consistently sought input from relevant stakeholders rather than making assumptions about implementation requirements." Phoenix felt a wave of relief and genuine appreciation for Victoria's feedback. "Thank you for giving me the opportunity to demonstrate my commitment to collaboration and practical implementation. Your operational perspective has already improved several aspects of my strategic planning and timeline development." Victoria studied Phoenix carefully before continuing with obvious consideration. "Can I share something with you as one woman to another, rather than strictly as your colleague or supervisor?" Phoenix sensed the conversation shifting to more personal mentoring territory. "Of course, I value your guidance both professionally and personally." Victoria's voice became more confidential and supportive. "I've spent 7 years building credibility and professional reputation in this male-dominated industry, and I've learned through experience that workplace relationships can be complicated for women in leadership positions, especially when we're working closely with male executives on high-visibility projects." Phoenix waited for her to continue, sensing important guidance ahead that could influence her career success. Victoria continued thoughtfully and carefully. "Atlas is an exceptional leader and a genuinely good person with strong integrity, but he's also the CEO of a company where your career advancement and success depend significantly on his continued support and professional recommendation." That dynamic creates complexities that can be challenging to navigate effectively. Phoenix appreciated Victoria's directness and experience-based wisdom. What specific advice would you offer for maintaining professional effectiveness while building collaborative working relationships with leadership? Victoria's response was warm but serious, reflecting her genuine investment in Phoenix's success. Trust your professional instincts, maintain clear personal boundaries, and remember that your professional reputation should be built primarily on your contributions and competence, not on personal relationships with any leadership team members. Phoenix nodded with growing respect for Victoria's mentorship approach. That's excellent guidance. I want to succeed based on my strategic capabilities and measurable culture change results, not on any personal dynamics or relationships that could undermine my professional credibility. Victoria's expression showed visible relief and satisfaction. I'm so grateful you understand these dynamics. I was concerned that you might not recognize how quickly professional relationships can become complicated in corporate environments, especially for talented women working with supportive male leadership. Phoenix felt curiosity about Victoria's specific concerns and experience. Has that been your personal experience here at Sterling Digital, or are you speaking from observations at other companies? Victoria paused before answering carefully and professionally. Not specifically here at Sterling Digital, but I've observed situations at previous companies where talented women's professional achievements became overshadowed by speculation about personal relationships with male executives, which ultimately undermined their career advancement despite excellent work quality. Phoenix felt the wisdom in Victoria's warning and guidance. How do you recommend balancing productive collaboration with appropriate professional distance and boundary maintenance? Victoria's advice was practical, supportive, and strategically sound. Focus consistently on measurable results and documented contributions. Maintain professional relationships with all leadership team members rather than appearing to favor any individual team, and ensure that your success is undeniably based on objective performance metrics that speak for themselves. Phoenix absorbed this guidance gratefully while recognizing its relevance to her growing feelings. Victoria, thank you for sharing your experience so openly and supportively. Having a female mentor who understands these dynamics is incredibly valuable for my professional development. Victoria's warmth became more evident and maternal. I wish I'd had similar guidance early in my career. Women supporting women professionally is essential for all of us to succeed and advance in male-dominated industries like technology. Their conversation continued through lunch, as Victoria shared specific examples of successful culture initiatives she'd observed at previous companies, along with practical advice about managing stakeholder expectations, measuring implementation success, and maintaining momentum during inevitable challenges that arise during organizational change processes. Victoria also discussed the importance of building alliances across departments, documenting progress meticulously, and preparing for resistance from team members who might be comfortable with existing systems despite their inefficiencies. As they prepared to leave, Victoria placed a supportive hand on Phoenix's shoulder with genuine affection. Phoenix, I want you to know that I'm genuinely excited about your culture initiatives and their potential impact on our organization. You have exceptional strategic vision and the interpersonal skills necessary to implement meaningful, lasting change. Phoenix felt a surge of professional confidence bolstered by Victoria's endorsement and support. Thank you for investing time in mentoring me and sharing your experience. Your guidance will definitely influence how I approach the next phases of implementation and stakeholder management. Victoria smiled with what appeared to be genuine affection and professional pride. I suspect you're going to accomplish remarkable things here at Sterling Digital. Just remember to stay focused on your professional goals and trust your own excellent judgment about appropriate boundaries. Walking back to the office together, Phoenix felt a new sense of alliance with Victoria and deeper appreciation for the complexities of corporate relationship management that she needed to navigate successfully. She also felt a growing awareness that her feelings toward Atlas were evolving beyond simple professional respect and collaboration, and that Victoria's guidance about maintaining appropriate boundaries was both timely and necessary for her career protection. The afternoon brought new challenges as Phoenix worked to balance her genuine excitement about collaborative projects with Victoria's wise counsel about professional focus and clear personal boundaries. By evening, Phoenix had developed a renewed commitment to proving herself through excellence in measurable culture initiative results, while carefully managing the increasingly complex emotions her partnership with Atlas was generating. Her success would be undeniable based on objective performance, regardless of any personal feelings that might be developing between them. Monday morning brought Phoenix face-to-face with her first significant implementation challenge that would test both her strategic thinking and her ability to adapt under pressure. The cross-pollination pilot program was scheduled to launch the following week with great anticipation, but unexpected resistance was emerging from sources she hadn't anticipated during her planning process. Phoenix knocked on Atlas's office door at 9 a.m. sharp, carrying a folder of concerning feedback and a determination to address problems directly rather than allowing them to escalate and potentially derail the program's success. Her approach to challenges had always been proactive rather than reactive. "Come in, Phoenix." Atlas looked up from his computer with the warm, familiar smile that had become a highlight of her daily routine. "How are the pilot preparations progressing? I've been hearing positive anticipation from several department heads." Phoenix settled into her usual chair but maintained professional composure despite the disappointing news she needed to share. "Actually, that's what I need to discuss with you this morning. I've encountered some significant pushback that requires strategic consideration and possibly modification of our approach." Atlas's expression immediately shifted to professional concern, mixed with surprise. "What kind of specific pushback are you experiencing?" Phoenix opened her folder and referenced her detailed notes from weekend conversations. "3 department heads have expressed serious concerns about allocating 90 minutes monthly to what they're characterizing as theoretical collaboration exercises when they're already managing competing priorities, tight project deadlines, and demanding performance metrics that don't include collaboration measurements." Atlas frowned with obvious disappointment. "Which departments specifically are expressing these concerns?" "Engineering, finance, and operations," Phoenix replied with professional honesty. "They're not opposed to collaboration in principle, but they're questioning whether formal sessions will generate enough measurable value to justify the time investment when they're already struggling to meet existing project commitments and deadlines." Atlas's expression grew more serious as he recognized the potential impact. "Those are absolutely critical departments for pilot program success. Without their genuine participation, the initiative could fail before we can demonstrate its value. What's your honest assessment of their concerns?" Phoenix had clearly thought through this challenge carefully and strategically. Their concerns are completely legitimate from their current perspective. Each department is managing significant projects with demanding timelines and specific performance metrics, and they haven't yet seen concrete evidence that collaboration sessions will directly benefit their immediate work challenges. Atlas leaned back thoughtfully, recognizing her analytical approach to the problem. "What solutions do you recommend to address their legitimate concerns while maintaining the program's integrity?" Phoenix's confidence was evident as she shifted into strategic problem-solving mode, demonstrating the adaptability that made her exceptional. "I propose modifying the pilot approach to address real current challenges. each resistant department is actively facing rather than using hypothetical scenarios or theoretical collaboration exercises. Instead of asking them to invest time in abstract collaboration, we focus on their actual, immediate problems as our pilot session content. That's actually brilliant strategic thinking, Atlas said with growing enthusiasm and obvious admiration. It transforms the sessions from theoretical time investment to direct problem-solving support that addresses their current pain points. Phoenix nodded eagerly, her excitement building as she detailed her adaptive strategy. Exactly. Engineering is currently struggling with user interface feedback integration that's delaying product launches. Let's make that our first session focus and invite customer service to share comprehensive user experience data they've been collecting for months. Finance is concerned about project cost overruns affecting quarterly performance. Let's include project management and operations to collaboratively brainstorm efficiency improvements that could reduce costs while maintaining quality. Atlas was taking detailed notes as she spoke, clearly impressed by her strategic thinking. This approach proves immediate value while building collaboration skills organically through solving real problems they care about solving. Phoenix continued with evident strategic brilliance that exceeded her original planning. Plus, when departments see tangible, measurable results from the first session that directly impact their current challenges, resistance to future sessions diminishes significantly because they've experienced direct benefits rather than theoretical possibilities or abstract team-building exercises. Atlas studied her with obvious admiration and growing personal respect. Phoenix, you've just solved the pilot program's biggest potential obstacle, while actually improving the overall approach and demonstrating exceptional adaptability. How do you consistently identify these strategic improvements when faced with unexpected challenges? Phoenix felt a familiar surge of professional confidence mixed with growing attraction to his leadership style. Honestly, non-profit work taught me that resistance usually indicates unmet needs rather than unwillingness to participate or collaborate. When people resist initiatives, I try to understand what they actually need and modify the approach accordingly, rather than pushing forward with original plans that aren't working. Atlas's respect was clearly evident and deeply felt. That's exceptional organizational psychology insight and strategic thinking. Most consultants would either push forward with the original plan and blame departments for lack of engagement, or abandon the initiative entirely when faced with resistance. Phoenix shook her head firmly with conviction. Blame never creates sustainable change or builds lasting collaboration. Understanding stakeholder needs and strategic adaptation do. I'd rather modify the approach to ensure success than defend a plan that isn't meeting actual organizational needs. Atlas smiled with something approaching awe and deeper personal appreciation. Phoenix, I have to ask, do you always respond to unexpected challenges with this level of strategic thinking and solution development? Phoenix met his gaze directly with honesty that created personal connection. Only when I'm working on projects that genuinely matter to me and with people I respect deeply. The simple honesty of her response created a moment of personal connection that felt significantly more intimate than professional collaboration. Atlas felt his appreciation for her competence mixing with deeper feelings that were becoming increasingly difficult to compartmentalize or ignore. Atlas cleared his throat softly and returned to business mode, though the personal undertone remained. What specific support do you need from me to implement this modified pilot approach effectively? Phoenix gathered her notes with renewed energy and professional excitement. I need permission to coordinate directly with department heads to identify their most pressing current challenges and immediate problem-solving needs, and I need you to send a company-wide email explaining that pilot sessions will focus on solving their actual operational problems rather than participating in abstract collaboration exercises or theoretical team-building activities. Atlas was already reaching for his phone with obvious enthusiasm. Consider it done immediately. I'll send that clarification email within the hour, and I'll specifically emphasize that sessions are designed to provide immediate, measurable value to participants' current work challenges and project success. Phoenix stood to leave, but paused at the door with genuine appreciation. Atlas, thank you for trusting my judgment about modifying the approach rather than insisting on the original plan when faced with legitimate resistance. Atlas's smile was warm, genuine, and personally invested. Phoenix, your strategic judgment has been consistently excellent throughout this entire process. I trust your professional thinking completely and personally respect your adaptability. Phoenix felt a flutter of something significantly beyond professional appreciation. That trust and support means more to me than you realize. I genuinely don't want to disappoint you or the organization. Atlas's voice grew softer with personal warmth. You couldn't disappoint me. Your contributions have already exceeded every expectation and demonstrated exceptional professional maturity. Phoenix felt herself drawn into the warmth in his voice and forced herself to maintain professional focus despite growing attraction. I should coordinate with the department heads immediately while enthusiasm for the modified approach is building. Atlas nodded, but watched her leave with an expression that suggested his feelings were becoming as complex and personally invested as hers were developing. Tuesday afternoon brought Phoenix exactly the enthusiastic response she'd hoped for and strategically planned to achieve. Department heads were not only willing to participate in problem-solving sessions focused on their real, immediate challenges, they were actively excited about the collaborative problem-solving potential and requesting additional sessions. Wednesday's pilot session with engineering and customer service generated immediate, measurable results that exceeded everyone's expectations and provided concrete value that participants could implement immediately. By Thursday, other departments were requesting inclusion in future sessions and asking when the program would expand, company-wide. Friday found Phoenix in Atlas's office again, this time carrying overwhelmingly positive feedback and requests to expand the program ahead of the original timeline due to demonstrated success. Atlas listened to her detailed success report with obvious pride and personal satisfaction. Phoenix, in less than 2 weeks, you've transformed potential resistance into enthusiastic participation and measurable results. That's remarkable change management and strategic leadership. Phoenix beamed with professional satisfaction and personal fulfillment. The key was listening carefully to their actual needs, rather than assuming I understood what they required without genuine stakeholder input and feedback. Atlas shook his head with genuine amazement and growing personal admiration. I'm beginning to think there's no organizational challenge you can't solve through strategic thinking, genuine collaboration, and adaptive implementation. Phoenix felt a dangerous surge of attraction mixed with professional pride. Working with you has brought out my best strategic thinking and creative problem-solving capabilities. This level of trust and autonomy allows me to approach challenges creatively rather than defensively, which makes the work genuinely fulfilling. Atlas's expression grew more personal and intimate than their previous interactions. Phoenix, I need to tell you something about how much I appreciate your contributions, and Phoenix felt her pulse quicken as she sensed the conversation shifting toward personal territory they'd been carefully avoiding despite growing mutual attraction. Their moment was interrupted by Victoria appearing in the doorway with a pleased expression and professional timing. Phoenix, congratulations on the pilot session success. I've been hearing enthusiastic feedback from multiple departments about your innovative problem-solving approach. Phoenix felt simultaneously grateful for Victoria's professional intervention and disappointed by the lost personal moment with Atlas. Thank you, Victoria. The collaborative problem-solving approach is generating even better measurable results than my most optimistic projections suggested. Victoria entered the office fully, clearly proud of Phoenix's professional success while observing the intimate atmosphere between them. "I told you this young woman was going to accomplish remarkable things here," she said to Atlas with professional warmth and subtle observation. Atlas nodded with obvious respect for Phoenix's capabilities and personal investment in her success. Her strategic thinking and implementation skills continue to exceed every expectation we established. Phoenix gathered her materials, suddenly intensely aware that her feelings for Atlas were growing beyond what Victoria's wise counsel had warned her to maintain for professional effectiveness and career protection. "Victoria, could I speak with you privately about expansion timeline considerations and potential organizational challenges?" Phoenix asked, recognizing she needed additional guidance about managing her increasingly complex personal emotions. "Of course," Victoria replied warmly with mentoring support. "Let's schedule time Monday morning to discuss sustainable growth strategies for the program and long-term success planning." As Phoenix left Atlas's office, she felt a powerful mixture of professional triumph and personal confusion about the direction of her deepening feelings and their potential impact on her career success. The success of her culture initiatives was undeniable and professionally satisfying, but her attraction to Atlas was becoming equally undeniable and potentially problematic for everything she'd worked so diligently to achieve. Phoenix spent Monday morning meticulously preparing for the week's expanded cross-pollination sessions, her confidence building as word spread throughout Sterling Digital about the remarkable, measurable results from the engineering customer service collaboration. Department heads were now actively competing to host future sessions and requesting accelerated implementation timelines. She was deeply focused on detailed scheduling logistics when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Important presentation materials for your upcoming sessions have been relocated to Conference Room C for your review and retrieval. Please collect them before 10 a.m. to ensure availability. Administrative support." Phoenix frowned at the message with immediate suspicion. She hadn't requested any materials to be moved, and more importantly, she'd never heard of Conference Room C in Sterling Digital's office layout. She checked her detailed calendar to confirm no meetings were scheduled in any room designated with letters rather than names. Phoenix walked directly to the main administrative desk, where Sarah was coordinating morning schedules and managing departmental logistics. "Sarah, did you or anyone from your team send me a text about materials being moved to Conference Room C?" Sarah looked genuinely puzzled and concerned. "No, I haven't sent any text messages this morning, and I personally handle all material relocation requests." "What specific materials were mentioned in the message?" Phoenix showed Sarah the suspicious text message, "Conference Room C." Sarah shook her head definitively. "We don't have any conference rooms labeled with letters. All our meeting spaces are named after cities: Boston, Seattle, Denver, Austin. There's no Conference Room C in this building." Phoenix felt her first real flutter of professional concern. That's definitely strange and potentially problematic. Who would have access to move my presentation materials without proper authorization or communication? Sarah's expression grew more serious as she recognized potential security implications. "What specific presentation materials were you storing that someone might have accessed? Were they in secured locations that require access permissions?" Phoenix's concern deepened significantly. "I have comprehensive backup copies of everything digital, but I had some physical research materials and printed employee survey responses stored in my desk drawer. Let me check immediately if anything's actually missing." Phoenix returned to her desk area and conducted a thorough search, discovering that her folder containing handwritten notes from confidential employee interviews and printed survey responses had indeed disappeared completely. The materials contained sensitive feedback from team members about interdepartmental communication challenges and personal workplace experiences. Phoenix immediately called Victoria's direct extension with growing alarm. "Victoria, this is Phoenix. I need to report some missing materials that contain confidential employee information and potentially sensitive organizational data." Victoria arrived at Phoenix's desk within 3 minutes, her expression professionally concerned and immediately taking the situation seriously. "What exactly is missing, and when did you last see these materials?" Phoenix explained the complete situation while Victoria took detailed notes and asked clarifying questions. The folder contained handwritten notes from confidential employee conversations conducted for my culture assessment, plus printed survey responses about workplace communication challenges and departmental collaboration preferences. Nothing that would damage the company externally, but definitely sensitive in terms of individual employee privacy and confidentiality. Victoria's frown deepened with obvious concern. "Who had physical access to your desk area over the weekend period?" Phoenix considered all possibilities carefully: cleaning crew, building security personnel, and potentially anyone with general office access or administrative privileges, I suppose. But why would someone move materials without proper authorization, documentation, or communication through appropriate channels? Victoria was clearly treating this as a serious security and privacy issue. "Let me contact building security immediately about weekend access logs and maintenance records. In the meantime, do you have comprehensive digital copies of everything you need for this week's scheduled sessions?" Phoenix nodded with relief about program continuity. "Yes, everything essential for program implementation is backed up digitally and stored securely. The missing materials were reference documents for my personal analysis rather than critical presentation content required for sessions." Victoria's expression remained concerned and protective. "Phoenix, I want you to document this incident officially with our security department and implement additional precautions for securing sensitive materials going forward. This might be completely innocent, but we have a responsibility to protect employee confidentiality." Phoenix appreciated Victoria's protective response and professional support. "Should I consider postponing this week's scheduled sessions until we understand what happened and can ensure security?" Victoria shook her head firmly with conviction. "Absolutely not. Your program is generating exceptional results and building tremendous momentum. We cannot allow administrative confusion or potential security issues to disrupt genuine progress. Just implement extra careful document security protocols immediately." Phoenix spent the remainder of Monday recreating her reference materials from digital sources and implementing comprehensive security measures for sensitive documents. The incident felt strange and potentially deliberate, but she refused to let mysterious administrative issues undermine her confidence or program momentum. Tuesday's cross-pollination session between marketing and sales generated breakthrough insights about client communication strategies that excited participants and leadership. Wednesday's session with finance and operations identified significant cost-saving opportunities that impressed the executive team. By Thursday afternoon, Phoenix felt completely recovered from Monday's mysterious incident. Her program was succeeding beyond all projections, departmental enthusiasm continued growing exponentially, and measurable results were exceeding expectations. Thursday afternoon brought intensive preparation for Friday's most important and high-visibility session yet, a collaboration between product development and customer service that Atlas planned to observe personally to evaluate program effectiveness. Phoenix was reviewing final presentation details when she received another text from the same unknown number. "Updated presentation materials in Conference Room C require your immediate attention and review before tomorrow's critical leadership session." Phoenix immediately forwarded the message to Victoria and called her extension with growing alarm. "Victoria, I just received another suspicious text about the non-existent conference room C location." Victoria's response was swift and decisive. "Don't go anywhere alone, and don't attempt to investigate independently. I'm coming to your desk immediately with building security, and we're going to address this systematically." Phoenix felt her professional instincts shift into high alert mode. Someone was definitely attempting to manipulate her schedule, access her materials, or potentially sabotage her program's success. And she absolutely would not allow interference to undermine her professional achievements. Victoria arrived within minutes, with security manager Rodriguez, both taking the situation seriously. "Mr. Rodriguez, this is Phoenix Rivera, our Culture Initiative Coordinator. She's received 2 suspicious texts about materials being moved to locations that don't exist in our building." Security Manager Rodriguez examined Phoenix's phone with professional attention and obvious concern. "Ms. Rivera, we're going to trace this number immediately and review comprehensive building access logs for the past 2 weeks. Have you noticed anyone showing unusual interest in your work, asking detailed questions about your presentation materials, or requesting information about implementation timelines?" Phoenix thought carefully about recent interactions. "Several people have asked questions about methodology and implementation details, but I assumed that was normal curiosity about new initiatives and professional interest in successful programs." Rodriguez nodded grimly with security expertise. "We'll investigate thoroughly and comprehensively. In the meantime, please report any unusual contacts, suspicious requests, or attempts to access your materials immediately to both Victoria and our security department." Victoria placed a supportive hand on Phoenix's shoulder with protective concern. "Phoenix, I want you to understand that we take this situation very seriously. Your work is valuable to our organization, and we're committed to protecting both you and your program from any interference or sabotage attempts." Phoenix felt a surge of determination rather than fear or discouragement. "Thank you for taking this seriously and providing support. I absolutely refuse to let whoever is doing this disrupt the progress we've made or undermine the program's success." Victoria's expression showed both concern and genuine admiration for Phoenix's resilience. "Your focus on program success, despite these deliberate distractions, demonstrates real professional maturity and exceptional commitment to your work." Phoenix gathered her materials for secure storage with renewed determination. "Tomorrow's session is going to be excellent, regardless of these attempts at disruption or interference. I've worked too hard and achieved too much success to let sabotage derail our momentum or damage the organization's trust in this initiative." As Phoenix prepared to leave for the day with enhanced security awareness, she felt a complex mixture of emotions. Someone was actively trying to undermine her professional success, but she had strong allies in Victoria and the security team. More importantly, she was absolutely determined to prove that her program's value and her professional capabilities couldn't be diminished by mysterious incidents, administrative manipulation, or deliberate sabotage attempts. Friday's session would demonstrate once and for all that her culture initiatives were generating transformational results that no amount of interference could diminish or destroy. Phoenix arrived at the office at 7 a.m. Friday morning, 2 hours before the crucial product development and customer service cross-pollination session that would determine the future of her entire program. Atlas planned to observe personally, and department heads from across Sterling Digital had requested to attend as observers after hearing about the remarkable results from previous sessions. She unlocked her desk drawer to retrieve her comprehensive presentation materials and felt her stomach drop. The folder containing her detailed session outline, printed data analysis, and handwritten facilitation notes had completely disappeared. Her laptop bag sat exactly where she'd left it, but the physical materials essential for today's session were gone. Phoenix immediately called Victoria's extension with controlled urgency. "Victoria, I have a serious problem. The materials for today's session are missing from my secured desk drawer." Victoria's voice was sharp with immediate concern. "I'm coming to your desk right now. Don't touch anything else until I arrive." Phoenix spent the next few minutes methodically checking every possible location where she might have stored materials while fighting rising panic. Everything digital was safely backed up, but her facilitation notes contained specific talking points and timing details that would be difficult to recreate under pressure. Victoria arrived within 5 minutes, accompanied by Security Manager Rodriguez. "Phoenix, tell us exactly what's missing and when you last saw these materials." Phoenix detailed the missing items while Rodriguez examined her desk area. "My complete session facilitation guide, printed participant surveys, and detailed timing notes for today's product development session. I secured them in my locked drawer yesterday at 6 p.m. and I'm certain the drawer was locked when I left." Rodriguez was already on his radio, coordinating with building security. "We're reviewing overnight access logs immediately. Ms. Rivera, do you have any way to conduct today's session without these specific materials?" Phoenix felt her determination surge rather than falter. "Yes, I have digital backups of all essential content. The missing materials would have made facilitation smoother, but I refuse to let this sabotage derail the most important session of the pilot program." Victoria's expression showed both concern and obvious admiration for Phoenix's resilience. "Phoenix, are you certain you feel prepared to proceed without your original materials?" Phoenix gathered her laptop and tablet with renewed focus. "Victoria, I've been preparing for this session for weeks. I know every participant, every challenge we're addressing, and every outcome we're targeting. Whoever is doing this underestimated my preparation and determination." Atlas appeared at Phoenix's desk with obvious concern. "Victoria called me about missing materials. Phoenix, how can I support you this morning?" Phoenix met his eyes with complete confidence, despite the morning's setback. "Atlas, I need 15 minutes to review my digital notes and reorganize my facilitation approach. The session will proceed as scheduled, and it will demonstrate the program's value regardless of these interference attempts." Atlas's respect was clearly evident. "Are you certain you don't want to postpone until we can investigate this situation thoroughly?" Phoenix shook her head firmly. "Absolutely not. This session represents 3 weeks of collaborative planning between departments that are genuinely excited to work together. I won't let sabotage disappoint people who are investing their time and energy in improving our organizational culture." Victoria exchanged a meaningful look with Atlas. "Phoenix, your professionalism under pressure is remarkable. Most people would request postponement given these circumstances." Phoenix checked her watch and gathered her materials with purposeful energy. "Most people haven't spent months unemployed fighting for opportunities to prove their professional value. This program matters too much to let administrative games derail its success." Rodriguez approached with preliminary findings. "Ms. Rivera, building access logs show unusual activity in your office area at 11:30 p.m. last night. We're enhancing security protocols immediately and will have complete findings by this afternoon." Phoenix nodded with grim satisfaction. "Thank you for taking this seriously. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a session to facilitate that's going to exceed everyone's expectations." As Phoenix walked toward the conference room, Atlas fell into step beside her. "Phoenix, I want you to know that your response to this morning's challenge demonstrates exactly the kind of leadership and resilience Sterling Digital needs." Phoenix felt a flutter of warmth despite her professional focus. "Thank you for your support, Atlas. Your confidence in my abilities means more than you realize, especially this morning." Atlas's voice grew softer with personal investment. You're going to be extraordinary in there. I have complete faith in your capabilities. Phoenix paused at the conference room door, feeling the weight of his support and her growing feelings for him. Atlas, after this session, there are some things I'd like to discuss with you about more than just the culture program. Atlas's expression intensified with something that looked remarkably like hope mixed with professional anticipation. I'd welcome that conversation. Phoenix, very much. Phoenix entered the conference room with her confidence fully restored and her determination absolute. The missing materials had been intended to undermine her success, but they'd only strengthened her resolve to prove that her value couldn't be diminished by sabotage attempts. The session was about to begin, and she was completely prepared to demonstrate why Sterling Digital's culture transformation was not only possible, but inevitable under her leadership. 12 department representatives filled the conference room as Phoenix began the most important presentation of her career, knowing that everything she'd worked for depended on the next 90 minutes. Phoenix, this is your moment, she told herself. Show them what excellence looks like when it can't be stolen, hidden, or undermined. The session that would define her future was about to begin. Phoenix stood at the front of Sterling Digital's largest conference room, facing an audience that included Atlas, Victoria, 12 department heads, and several team members who had specifically requested to observe the session. Her laptop was connected to the large display screen, her tablet contained backup materials, and her confidence radiated despite the morning's deliberate sabotage attempt. "Good morning, everyone." Phoenix's voice carried clearly through the room with professional authority. "Thank you for investing your time in what I believe will be a transformational collaboration experience between our product development and customer service teams." She clicked to her first slide, which displayed 6 months of customer feedback data organized by theme and frequency. Over the past 6 months, customer service has collected over 2,400 individual feedback submissions about product features, user experience challenges, and enhancement requests. Today, we're going to use this goldmine of user insight to solve product development's current interface optimization challenge. The product development director, Marcus, leaned forward with immediate interest. "Phoenix, we've been struggling with user adoption rates for our new dashboard features. Customer feedback could be exactly what we need to understand the disconnect." Phoenix smiled with genuine enthusiasm. "Marcus, that's precisely why today's collaboration will generate breakthrough results. Customer service doesn't just collect feedback. They identify patterns and user behavior trends that reveal why certain features succeed while others struggle with adoption." She clicked to her detailed analysis showing user behavior patterns. "Jennifer from customer service, can you share what you've observed about how users actually interact with dashboard features versus how we assume they'll use them?" Jennifer, the customer service manager, referenced her notes with obvious excitement about finally sharing her insights. "Phoenix, our users consistently try to access advanced features through the main menu rather than the quick access toolbar. They're looking for familiar navigation patterns from other software they use daily, but our innovative design requires learning new interaction methods." Marcus's expression shifted to recognition and surprise. "That explains why our usage analytics show high initial engagement, followed by rapid abandonment. Users are finding the features, but struggling with our navigation approach." Phoenix advanced to her next slide, showing user journey mapping. "Exactly. Now, Marcus, can you explain the current interface logic so Jennifer's team understands the intended user flow?" Marcus shared his screen to demonstrate the dashboard design philosophy, while Jennifer's team asked clarifying questions about specific user pain points they'd observed repeatedly. Atlas watched the collaboration unfold with obvious fascination and growing professional admiration. Phoenix had transformed a theoretical exercise into genuine problem-solving that was generating immediate insights neither department could have achieved independently. Phoenix facilitated the discussion with expert timing, ensuring every participant contributed meaningfully while maintaining focus on actionable solutions. After 45 minutes of collaborative analysis, breakthrough insights began emerging naturally. Jennifer's team revealed that users consistently requested a beginner mode that would gradually introduce advanced features rather than overwhelming them with complete functionality immediately. Marcus's team realized they could implement progressive disclosure techniques that would maintain their innovative design while accommodating familiar user expectations. Phoenix captured every insight on the shared screen while managing group energy and maintaining productive momentum. By the session's halfway point, both teams were actively brainstorming implementation approaches that excited everyone involved. Victoria observed Phoenix's facilitation skills with growing appreciation and recognition of her exceptional talent. Phoenix wasn't just managing a meeting, she was orchestrating genuine collaboration that was producing measurable value for both departments. The session's final 30 minutes focused on creating specific action items with assigned accountability and follow-up timelines. Phoenix ensured every participant left with clear next steps and concrete commitments for continued collaboration beyond the formal session. As the session concluded, spontaneous applause erupted from participants who had experienced genuine breakthrough insights about their work challenges. Marcus approached Phoenix immediately after the session ended. Phoenix, this collaboration generated more actionable insights about user experience than we've gathered in the past 6 months of internal analysis. When can we schedule our next joint session? Jennifer nodded enthusiastically. I've been collecting user feedback for 3 years, but this is the first time I've seen how product development can actually use that information to solve real problems. This partnership approach is revolutionary. Atlas remained as other participants dispersed, his expression showing obvious pride and something deeper than professional appreciation. Phoenix, what I just observed was exceptional leadership and strategic facilitation. You transformed potential conflict into collaborative innovation. Phoenix felt a surge of professional satisfaction mixed with growing personal attraction. Thank you, Atlas. Seeing departments discover their collaborative potential and generate genuine solutions, this is exactly why I chose culture development work. Victoria approached with a thoughtful expression and obvious respect. Phoenix, I need to schedule a private conversation with you this afternoon. There are some things about recent events that I need to discuss with you personally. Phoenix sensed significance in Victoria's request and growing complexity in their relationship. Of course, Victoria. I'm available whenever is convenient for you. Atlas checked his watch with reluctance to end their interaction. Phoenix, would you be available for dinner tonight to discuss the program's expansion and other matters we mentioned earlier? Phoenix felt her pulse quicken at his invitation and the promise of personal conversation. I'd like that very much. Atlas. There are definitely things we should discuss beyond professional matters. As participants continued expressing enthusiasm about the session results, Phoenix realized she'd just delivered the most successful presentation of her career despite deliberate attempts to undermine her preparation. The sabotage had failed completely. Her competence, preparation, and natural leadership had proven stronger than any interference attempts. More importantly, she'd earned the respect and collaboration of every department while demonstrating her value to Sterling Digital in ways that no one could dispute or diminish. The program's success was now undeniable, and her professional future was secure, based entirely on merit and measurable results. The personal conversation with Atlas that evening would determine whether her growing feelings might have a future worth exploring. Phoenix spent her lunch break reviewing the morning session's outstanding results while preparing for her afternoon conversation with Victoria. The product development and customer service collaboration had exceeded every expectation, generating immediate implementation plans and enthusiastic requests for accelerated program expansion. At 2 p.m., Victoria knocked on Phoenix's office door with an expression that mixed professional determination with personal vulnerability. "Phoenix, thank you for making time for this conversation. What I need to tell you requires complete privacy and honesty." Phoenix gestured for Victoria to close the door and take a seat, sensing the conversation's importance. "Of course, Victoria. I appreciate you taking time to provide guidance, especially after this morning's successful session, despite the missing material situation." Victoria settled into the chair across from Phoenix's desk with obvious internal conflict. "Phoenix, I need to tell you something that will be difficult to hear, but I can't continue allowing you to operate without complete information about recent events." Phoenix felt her attention sharpen with growing concern. "What information am I missing?" Victoria took a deep breath before speaking with careful honesty. "The missing materials from your desk, both incidents, were not random administrative errors or external sabotage attempts. I was responsible for removing your materials." Phoenix felt shock and confusion rather than immediate anger. "You, Victoria, why would you interfere with my work when you've been mentoring me and supporting the program publicly?" Victoria's expression showed genuine remorse, mixed with strategic explanation. "When you first joined Sterling Digital and gained immediate access to executive-level projects, I was concerned about the rapid pace of your integration and your growing influence with Atlas specifically." Phoenix processed this information while managing her emotional response. "What specific concerns drove you to sabotage my materials rather than addressing your reservations directly?" Victoria's honesty was clearly difficult, but complete. "I was worried that your quick success and Atlas's obvious enthusiasm for your ideas might complicate professional dynamics in ways that could potentially harm both your career and the organization's stability." Phoenix felt understanding beginning to emerge alongside her disappointment. "You were trying to slow down my progress to protect me from potential relationship complications with Atlas." Victoria nodded with obvious relief that Phoenix understood her motivations. "I've seen talented women in corporate environments lose professional credibility when their relationships with male leadership become subjects of speculation rather than their work being evaluated on merit." Phoenix appreciated Victoria's honesty while processing the implications. "Victoria, I understand your concerns, but sabotaging my materials could have destroyed my professional reputation if I hadn't been able to recover and deliver successful results." Victoria's remorse was evident and genuine. "You're absolutely right, and I realize now that my approach was wrong. Watching you handle this morning's challenge with such professionalism and competence made me recognize that you don't need protection. You need support and honest communication." Phoenix felt her anger subsiding as she recognized Victoria's good intentions despite poor execution. "What changed your perspective about my capabilities and my relationship with Atlas?" Victoria's expression grew more admiring and respectful. "Observing your strategic thinking, your resilience under pressure, and your consistent focus on measurable results rather than personal advancement. You've proven that your success is based entirely on exceptional competence rather than any interpersonal dynamics." Phoenix felt validation alongside her disappointment about the deception. "Victoria, I appreciate your honesty now, but I need you to understand that your interference could have seriously damaged my career and the program's success." Victoria nodded with complete acknowledgement of responsibility. "I take full responsibility for my poor judgment, and I want to make amends by supporting your continued success in every way possible." Phoenix considered how to move forward constructively. "What specific support are you offering?" Victoria's response was immediate and comprehensive. "I've already spoken with Atlas about recommending your promotion to Director of Employee Experience, with expanded authority over all culture initiatives and a salary increase that reflects your proven value to the organization." Phoenix felt surprise mixed with professional excitement. "You recommended my promotion to Atlas?" Victoria's smile became genuinely supportive. "Phoenix, your work has exceeded every possible expectation. You've transformed departmental collaboration, generated measurable business improvements, and demonstrated leadership that Sterling Digital needs to retain and develop." Phoenix felt her professional confidence solidifying. "Victoria, I appreciate your support and your honesty about recent events. Moving forward, I need your commitment to direct communication rather than behind-the-scenes management of situations you're concerned about." Victoria nodded with obvious respect and commitment. "You have my word. You've earned the right to navigate your own professional relationships and career decisions without interference from anyone, including me." Phoenix felt the weight of professional recognition and personal growth. "Victoria, thank you for telling me the truth and for recognizing my capabilities. I'd like to continue working together collaboratively rather than letting this incident damage our professional relationship." Victoria's relief was obvious and heartfelt. "I was hoping you'd be willing to continue our partnership. Your success reflects well on everyone involved in supporting your initiatives." Phoenix gathered her materials with renewed energy and purpose. "Victoria, I have a question that's been concerning me. Do you believe my professional relationship with Atlas has crossed appropriate boundaries?" Victoria's response was thoughtful and honest. "No, Phoenix. I've observed your interactions carefully, and you've both maintained professional appropriateness while developing mutual respect based on your exceptional work quality. Any personal feelings that may be developing are secondary to your professional achievements." Phoenix felt validation and clarity about her situation. "Thank you for that assessment. It means a lot coming from someone with your experience navigating corporate relationships." Victoria stood to leave with obvious respect for Phoenix's professionalism. "Phoenix, congratulations on this morning's exceptional session and on your upcoming promotion. You've earned every bit of success you're achieving." As Victoria left, Phoenix felt a complex mixture of emotions. The sabotage mystery was solved. Her professional position was stronger than ever, and her promotion would provide the career security and independence she needed. Most importantly, Victoria's recommendation meant that her success was recognized and supported by the leadership team based entirely on merit and measurable contributions. Tonight's dinner with Atlas would now take place from a position of complete professional strength and personal choice, rather than career dependence. Phoenix smiled as she realized that everything she'd worked for was finally falling into place, exactly as she'd envisioned when she first walked into Sterling Digital's lobby 3 weeks ago. Her confidence in calling that man an arrogant snob had been the beginning of the most transformational period of her professional and personal life. The conversation with Atlas tonight would determine whether her growing feelings for him could develop into something as successful as her career transformation had become. Phoenix stood before her bathroom mirror Friday evening, applying the final touches of makeup for her dinner with Atlas. 3 weeks had transformed her life completely, from unemployed non-profit coordinator facing eviction to Director of Employee Experience at one of the region's most innovative technology companies. More importantly, tonight would determine whether her growing feelings for Atlas could evolve beyond professional admiration into something genuinely personal and lasting. Her phone buzzed with a text from Atlas. "Looking forward to our conversation tonight. I've made reservations at Meridian Heights, the restaurant where important discussions deserve beautiful settings. See you at 7 p.m. Phoenix smiled at his thoughtfulness in choosing an elegant location that suggested he was taking their conversation as seriously as she was. She'd selected a sophisticated navy dress that projected confidence while remaining appropriate for either professional discussion or personal revelation, depending on how their evening unfolded. The drive to Meridian Heights gave Phoenix time to reflect on her remarkable journey from that first confrontational moment in Sterling Digital's lobby. Her decision to speak her mind honestly, despite not knowing Atlas's identity, had initiated a chain of events that exceeded her wildest professional and personal dreams. Atlas was waiting in the restaurant's reception area when she arrived, wearing a charcoal suit that emphasized his leadership presence, while his warm smile suggested genuine anticipation for their private conversation. "Phoenix, you look absolutely stunning. Thank you for agreeing to dinner on such short notice." Phoenix felt a flutter of attraction mixed with nervous excitement. "Thank you for choosing such a beautiful location." Atlas. "After the week we've had, a peaceful evening for genuine conversation sounds perfect." The maitre d' led them to a secluded corner table with panoramic city views that provided privacy for intimate discussion while creating an atmosphere of celebration rather than business formality. Atlas had clearly requested this specific table to encourage personal conversation rather than professional review. As they settled into their seats and ordered wine, Atlas's expression grew more personal than their previous interactions. "Phoenix, before we discuss anything else, I want you to know how proud I am of your response to this week's challenges. Your resilience, strategic thinking, and unwavering commitment to excellence have been truly inspiring to observe." Phoenix felt warmth spreading through her chest at his genuine admiration. "Thank you, Atlas. Having your support and confidence, especially during the material sabotage situation, meant more to me than you probably realize. Knowing you believed in my capabilities helped me maintain focus on delivering results rather than letting frustration derail my performance." Atlas leaned forward with obvious sincerity. "Phoenix, I need you to understand something important. My confidence in your abilities isn't based on hope or potential. It's based on consistently observing exceptional competence, innovative thinking, and natural leadership that has transformed our entire organizational culture in just 3 weeks. Phoenix felt her professional confidence solidifying alongside her growing personal attraction. That recognition means everything to me, especially coming from someone whose leadership and vision I respect so deeply. Atlas's smile grew warmer and more intimate, which brings me to the real reason I wanted to have dinner with you tonight, away from the office and our professional responsibilities. Phoenix felt her pulse quicken as she sensed their conversation shifting toward the personal territory they'd been carefully navigating. "What did you want to discuss?" Atlas paused thoughtfully before speaking with careful honesty. "Phoenix, over these past 3 weeks, my feelings toward you have evolved significantly beyond professional respect and admiration. I found myself looking forward to our meetings not just because of your brilliant insights, but because I genuinely enjoy your company, your perspective on life, and the way you challenge me to be a better leader and person." Phoenix felt her heart racing as she recognized the vulnerability and sincerity in his admission. "Atlas, I have to tell you that my feelings have been evolving in the same direction. Working with you has shown me what genuine partnership looks like, someone who supports my ideas while challenging me to think deeper, who respects my independence while offering guidance when I need it." Atlas reached across the table to gently touch her hand. "I've been concerned about the professional implications of these feelings, given our working relationship and the potential complications that could arise." Phoenix appreciated his consideration while feeling confident about her position. "I've thought about that extensively, especially after my conversations with Victoria about maintaining professional boundaries. But honestly, Atlas, my promotion to director means we're now colleagues rather than supervisor and employee. My success is documented and recognized based entirely on measurable results. Atlas's expression showed relief mixed with growing hope. That's exactly how I've been thinking about our situation. Your professional achievements speak for themselves, and your promotion creates the independence you need to make personal choices without career implications. Phoenix felt her confidence building as she recognized their mutual feelings and practical compatibility. Atlas, can I ask you something that's been on my mind? Of course. Ask me anything. Phoenix met his eyes directly. When did you first realize your feelings were becoming more than professional? Atlas smiled with obvious warmth and personal reflection. Honestly, the moment you called me an arrogant snob in the lobby and then defended your principles during the interview despite discovering I was the CEO. I'd never met anyone who valued integrity over opportunity so completely. That combination of courage and authenticity was immediately attractive. Phoenix laughed genuinely, and I was mortified that I'd insulted the person conducting my interview. But you handled it with such grace and genuine curiosity about my reasoning that I started respecting your leadership style immediately. Atlas's expression grew more serious and intimate. Phoenix, what I'm feeling for you goes deeper than professional admiration or physical attraction. You've reminded me why I started Sterling Digital, to create meaningful work environments where talented people can flourish. Being with you makes me want to be the kind of leader and person who deserves your respect and partnership. Phoenix felt her emotions deepening as she recognized the sincerity of his feelings. Atlas, you already are that person. Your willingness to examine your leadership, invest in culture change, and support my initiatives, even when they challenged existing systems, shows incredible character and genuine commitment to growth. Their conversation paused as dinner arrived, but the emotional intimacy continued as they shared stories about their backgrounds, dreams, and perspectives on building meaningful lives through purposeful work. Atlas told her about the loneliness of leadership, and how her insights had helped him reconnect with his original vision for Sterling Digital. Phoenix shared her passion for creating workplaces where people felt valued and connected, and how working with him had shown her that business success and human fulfillment really could coexist. As dessert arrived, Atlas's expression grew more determined and hopeful. Phoenix, I'd like to ask you something important, and I want you to feel completely free to say no if you're not ready or interested. Phoenix felt anticipation building. What would you like to ask? Atlas met her eyes with vulnerability and hope. Would you be interested in exploring a personal relationship with me, separate from our professional partnership? I'm not asking for any immediate commitment or dramatic changes, just the opportunity to spend time together outside of work and see where our feelings might lead us. Phoenix felt joy spreading through her as she realized her feelings were fully reciprocated. Atlas, I would love that opportunity. I've been hoping you felt the same way, but I wanted to be certain my feelings weren't influenced by professional gratitude or career considerations. Atlas's smile was radiant with relief and happiness. And now, how do you feel about your feelings? Phoenix laughed with genuine joy and confidence. Now I know they're completely authentic. I'm attracted to your intelligence, your integrity, your willingness to grow and change, and the way you make me feel like an equal partner in everything we do together. Atlas reached for her hand again, this time with clear romantic intent rather than just supportive friendship. And Phoenix, would it be appropriate for me to kiss you goodnight when I walk you to your car? Phoenix felt butterflies mixed with complete certainty about her answer. It would be more than appropriate, Atlas. It would be wonderful. As they left the restaurant together, Phoenix reflected on the remarkable transformation of her life in just 3 weeks. She'd gone from unemployment and financial stress to professional success, and the beginning of what felt like a genuinely meaningful romantic relationship with a man she respected deeply. The kiss goodnight was gentle, warm, and full of promise for future conversations and discoveries about each other beyond their professional compatibility. Driving home, Phoenix smiled as she realized that her decision to speak honestly in Sterling Digital's lobby had led to everything she'd ever wanted professionally and personally. 6 months later, Phoenix stood at the podium of the Regional Business Excellence Awards ceremony, holding the trophy for Innovative Workplace Culture Initiative of the Year that Sterling Digital had just received. The audience included employees from dozens of companies who had implemented similar cross-pollination programs based on Phoenix's published methodology. "Thank you for this incredible recognition," Phoenix said into the microphone, her confidence evident to everyone in the packed auditorium. "This award belongs to every employee at Sterling Digital who embraced collaborative problem-solving and proved that meaningful work relationships enhance both individual success and organizational achievement." From her position at the Sterling Digital table, Victoria applauded enthusiastically while Atlas watched with obvious pride and personal affection. Their relationship had developed naturally over the months, built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine compatibility that extended far beyond their initial professional attraction. Phoenix continued her acceptance speech with passion and authenticity. "6 months ago, I was unemployed and facing eviction. Today, I'm Director of Employee Experience at a company that has become a model for collaborative innovation. This transformation happened because one person, Atlas Kane, was willing to hire someone who challenged his assumptions and support ideas that required organizational change." She looked directly at Atlas with warmth and gratitude. But more importantly, this success happened because every employee at Sterling Digital chose to embrace collaboration over competition, growth over comfort, and authentic relationship building over efficient isolation. "You proved that business excellence and human fulfillment really can coexist when leadership creates systems that support both." The applause was sustained and enthusiastic as Phoenix concluded her remarks. "This award represents what's possible when organizations invest in their people's potential for collaborative innovation. Thank you for recognizing not just our specific program, but the principle that workplace culture is the foundation of sustainable business success." As Phoenix returned to her table, Atlas stood to embrace her with obvious pride and deep personal affection. "Congratulations, Director Rivera. You've accomplished something truly remarkable that will influence organizational culture development for years to come." Phoenix felt complete professional satisfaction mixed with personal happiness. "Thank you for believing in my vision and supporting my growth. None of this would have been possible without your willingness to invest in culture change." Victoria approached with genuine warmth and respect. "Phoenix, watching your transformation from new employee to industry leader has been one of the most inspiring experiences of my career. You've proven that exceptional people can create exceptional results when they're given appropriate support and autonomy." Phoenix appreciated Victoria's evolved relationship with her. "Victoria, thank you for becoming such a strong advocate and mentor. Our collaboration has shown me how powerful female leadership can be when we support each other's success rather than competing unnecessarily." As the evening celebration continued, Phoenix reflected on the remarkable year of professional growth and personal fulfillment she'd experienced. Her culture initiatives had been implemented by dozens of companies. Her methodology was being taught in business schools, and her relationship with Atlas had evolved into genuine partnership both professionally and personally. 3 months later, Phoenix stood in the same Sterling Digital lobby where her journey had begun, wearing an engagement ring and reviewing final preparations for the company's Best Places to Work award ceremony. The transformation from that first confrontational encounter to this moment of celebration felt both surreal and perfectly inevitable. Atlas appeared beside her with his usual warm smile, now enhanced by the intimacy of their engaged relationship. Ready for today's celebration, future Mrs. Kane. Phoenix laughed with joy and continued amazement at their journey together, ready to celebrate what we've built together, both professionally and personally. Who would have thought that calling you an arrogant snob would lead to the most fulfilling year of my life? Atlas kissed her forehead with deep affection. That moment of honesty was when I first realized you were someone extraordinary who would change my life completely. Your courage to speak truth to power, even when you thought I was just another job candidate, showed me the kind of person I wanted to build a future with. Phoenix felt overwhelming gratitude for the path that had led them to this moment. Atlas, do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't spilled my portfolio that day, or if I'd just politely ignored your dismissive comment? Atlas considered this thoughtfully. I think we would have found each other eventually. People with shared values and compatible visions tend to recognize each other, regardless of the specific circumstances that bring them together. Phoenix nodded with deep conviction. I believe that too. We were both looking for authentic partnership, professionally and personally. The lobby incident just accelerated our discovery of what we could accomplish together. As employees and local business leaders arrived for the award ceremony, Phoenix and Atlas greeted them together as equal partners in Sterling Digital's success story. Their relationship had become a model for how workplace romance could enhance, rather than complicate, professional achievement when built on mutual respect and shared commitment to excellence. The ceremony began with Atlas delivering opening remarks about the importance of organizational culture in creating sustainable business success. His speech highlighted Phoenix's contributions while emphasizing the collaborative effort of every employee who had embraced culture change initiatives. When Phoenix was invited to accept the Best Places to Work award on behalf of Sterling Digital's entire team, she felt the weight of representing not just her own success, but the transformation of an entire organization that had chosen growth over comfort. Ladies and gentlemen, Phoenix said with confidence and gratitude, this award represents what happens when leaders prioritize people alongside profits, when employees choose collaboration over competition, and when organizations commit to continuous improvement rather than defending existing systems. She looked out at the audience of Sterling Digital employees who had supported her initiatives from the beginning. 12 months ago, our company was technically successful, but culturally disconnected. Today, we're recognized as a model workplace because every person in this room chose to participate in building something better than what existed before. The applause was sustained and emotional as Phoenix continued with passion and sincerity. This transformation happened because our leadership team, led by CEO Atlas Kane, was willing to invest in culture change even when the benefits weren't immediately measurable. And it succeeded because our employees were willing to try new approaches to collaboration and communication. Phoenix's voice grew more personal as she concluded her remarks. But most importantly, this award represents the principle that meaningful work relationships enhance every aspect of our professional and personal lives. When we choose authenticity over politics, collaboration over competition, and growth over comfort, we create environments where everyone can flourish. As the ceremony concluded with enthusiastic celebration, Phoenix realized that her journey from unemployed non-profit coordinator to recognized industry leader had been possible because she'd never compromised her values or authenticity in pursuit of success. Standing beside Atlas as colleagues and competitors congratulated them on their professional achievements and personal engagement. Phoenix felt the deep satisfaction of knowing she'd built her success on integrity, competence, and genuine relationship building. Her decision to speak honestly to a stranger in a corporate lobby had initiated a transformation that exceeded every dream she'd ever had about professional fulfillment and personal happiness. 6 months later, on their wedding day, Atlas and Phoenix stood before their families, friends, and sterling digital colleagues, exchanging vows that reflected both their personal commitment and their shared vision for building meaningful lives through purposeful work. "I promise to support your dreams, challenge your thinking, and celebrate your successes," Atlas said with deep emotion and unwavering commitment. "You've taught me that authentic partnership enhances everything we accomplish individually." Phoenix's vows reflected her journey of empowerment and growth. "I promise to maintain my independence while building our partnership, to speak truth even when it's difficult, and to continue growing alongside you as we create the life and work we both envisioned. You've shown me that love enhances rather than limits personal achievement." As they kissed to seal their marriage commitment, Phoenix reflected on the remarkable transformation that had begun with her decision to confront rudeness honestly rather than accepting it silently. That moment of courage in Sterling Digital's lobby had led to professional success, personal fulfillment, and a love story built on mutual respect, shared values, and authentic partnership. Phoenix Rivera Kane had proven that empowered women who refuse to compromise their principles can indeed have everything they dream of achieving: career success, personal happiness, and genuine partnership with someone who enhances rather than limits their potential. The story that began with calling a stranger an arrogant snob had evolved into a love story and success story that would inspire other women to speak their truth courageously, pursue their dreams relentlessly, and never settle for less than the authentic partnership they deserve in all aspects of their lives. As Phoenix and Atlas danced their first dance as husband and wife, surrounded by the Sterling Digital team that had become their extended family, Phoenix knew that her greatest adventure was just beginning, building a life and legacy based on the principle that authentic people who support each other's growth can accomplish anything they choose to pursue together. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories like this. Leave a like and comment below what you thought of the story. See you in the next video.